I actually want us to have a very interactive session today. So if you at any point don't understand what I said or what I did, please feel free to drop a chat or unmute yourself and ask your questions. I might not be able to see the chats, so you can easily just unmute yourself, ask your question, and we will take it from there. Last week, we started this Excel class and Shehu did justice to the intro. He talked about what Excel is, cells, rows, columns. So we might not have to go to that today. The expectation is that you already have your Excel installed, you have a laptop with you, you know what a cell is, you know what a column is, you know what a row is. And we'll just go through a use case this evening or this afternoon, and we'll work with that. So I have a mini use case here. The data we're working with today is HR data, and we have a few metrics that will guide our conversation today, and also that will guide the functions that we're going to use. Looking at the metrics, we would know, oh, what function would work for what we are hoping to achieve. We'll start with the simple ones, and then we'll move all the way to the ones that might seem a bit complex. When we get to that, please ask questions. Please ask me to take it over again. And trust me, I would always go back and I would take it over again. If we're not able to exhaust this metrics today, we would push this to the next class. So feel free to reach out. So we're talking about the Shrako Limited, a multinational corporation operating in various industries. And the company continues to grow. It's facing challenges related to employee retention, performance management, and workforce. To address these challenges, Shrako Limited aims to use or leverage HR analytics to gain insight into its workforce and make data-driven decisions to improve HR processes and employee satisfaction. Our aim today is to provide insight from the HRO data that is available, the HRO data that Shrako Limited, what they use to understand their workforce, what they use to understand who gets promoted, who is performing well, what they use to understand where are we spending our money on in terms of trainings, what state are we spending more money on, which department are we spending more money on, what is the distribution of gender across our employee. There are just so many things that the company is interested in, and they will want you as the analyst to extract these details from their data. So we will start with understanding the data, and then we will take it from there and start looking at the metrics one after the other. Please, if I'm too fast, also let me know. This is what the HR data looks like. I've tried to make this really small, just 50 rows, so we don't have 1 million records and it become very distracting. So we have the employee ID. Assume that the employee ID is the staff number. When you join an organization, you are given a staff number. So we all know what a staff number is. So we have last name, but we don't have first name. We have the start date, that's the date that the employee resumed the organization. We have the exit date, that is the date, the last date of employment. We have an email address. We have employee type, more like an employment type. Is it a full-time employment? Is it a contract employment? We have department. So it could be sales, marketing, and the likes. We have division. So you can have department, you have division. So under division, you could have finance, then finance, you have, what I call it, accounting, payroll, and the likes under finance. You could have under HR, you have the people handling recruitment, you have the ones handling performance management. You have state, we have job functions, we have gender. Our gender is coded as 0 and 1. We have marital description, then we have performance score. We also have training data as well. For the training data, we have the employee record, we have the training data, the dates that the employee was trained, the training program, what is the name of the training that was attended, what type of training was it, is it internal or external? The training outcome, did they fail the training based on the assessment that was given? Where was this training, that is location, who was the trainer, and what's the duration of the training and the training cost? So I've given you a description of the fields for this data set. What I've just done is to help with your analysis. Before you start analyzing data, it's very important that you understand the fields, you understand the data set. So you don't just get data set and you start working on it. You need to know what each field represents, because with that, you will understand the kind of story that you will be able to tell with that data. So understanding what each field represents, understanding what is this, what is that, helps with you building up the story or building up the metrics or building up the insights that you can generate from that data set. So we start with number one, show total staff. So for this metrics, we're expected to show the total number of employees that we have in this organization. We're expected to show the total number of employees that we have in this organization. Before I continue, do we have any question, concern? Do we all have the data? Do we have questions? Do we have the data?
Yes, please.
Do I have people that are already on their laptop?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Let me go back. So metrics one. Show total staff. So the more like show total number of employees. So we move with that. So for us to show the total number of staff or employee, it is basically counting, right? It's basically counting what's the total number of staff that we have. So we can count the staff number. We can count the staff number, which should actually be what we should count, because that is the only thing that would be unique. Counting employee name, it might give you what you need, but it's not advisable because you can have two Maritha in an organization, but then staff number IDs are usually unique. All right, so we would count the number of staff that we have in this organization using the employee ID. We can choose to come down to the bottom and do this, but I'd rather we create a new sheet. So please click on the plus sign at the bottom. Click at the plus sign at the bottom of your Excel sheet for a new sheet. Let's use that to show our total number of staff. So I'll just write that. All right, I've written my total number of employees. And I said we'll do a count of employee ID. We'll do a count of employee ID. So I can start with, for you to start a formula or a function in Excel, you must put the equality sign. You must put the equality sign. So if you don't put that equality sign, Excel will assume you are just trying to fill up the cell. Excel will assume you're just imputing details on the cell. So if you want to bring in a function, you have to put your equality sign. So I can put this equality sign and bring in my count. Or put in the equality sign or bring in my count, double click, and I will see what my function is expecting from me. It's expecting that I add value. So what are you counting? That's what it's telling me. What do you want to count? So I will take it to where I have employee ID and I'll do the count. Well, let's make it easier. Microsoft has made it easier for us to add these functions. Let's make it easier for us by going to the top. If you can see FX, anywhere you see FX, if you can see FX here, not really the top right, I won't say top left now, but would I say the second line? Insert function. So you click on it. You click on it, and it would open this small dialog box. You type the function you are looking for. I'm looking for count. I'll search for it. When it comes out, I'll click OK. This is what I want. This is what I want. It's easier this way because then it won't just give you the option of imputing the details you need. It will also define what it is expecting. So if you look down, you will see value 1, value 2 are 1 to 255 arguments that can contain or refer to a variety of different types of data, but only numbers are counted. So we're going to add what we want to count here by clicking on this, the upward arrow. We click on it and we go to employee data table and select what we want to count. We are counting the whole of this. When we're done with that selection, we click on the downward arrow and it takes us back to where we had the dialog box. And with that, we're not counting a second value. It's just one value that we want to count. So we click OK. That's our count. So our total number of employees is equals to 49. Are we together? Am I alone on this journey?
No.
Okay, thank you. We have 41 participants. I keep hearing just one voice. Am I alone? Are we alone? I and my sister that just responded.
No.
Are we alone?
No, no, we are
Thank
with
you.
you.
Alone.
Oh, now you're better. Now I feel better. Thank you so much for responding. Okay, so we have the
Sorry,
total
can I
number.
say something, please?
Please go on.
Stop.
So when you started now, you wanted to use the count function, right?
Yes.
So if you have used
I
the
didn't
count
get
function,
49.
Okay, let's take the question first before we address you didn't get 49. Go ahead with the question.
all right. So I wanted to find out if you had gone ahead with that formula, were you
Yes.
going to arrive at 49? Or
Yes,
what is
that's the formula here. Count. See it here.
No, what I'm trying to say, let's say in the cell now, I now
Yeah.
start equal to count, open parentheses, then I go to the employment data set and click on that particular column. Am I not going to arrive at the same thing?
You're going to do that. That's it. Did you see what I did?
Yeah, yes, I did. Yes, I did. Because I saw that you had to say, let's see for that one. Because I know for me personally, getting that arrow that looks like download where you went to used to confuse me. So I prefer the function key. So that's what I was asking.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. You know, when you're using the simple formulas, it's easier to just type. But at some point, if you move to complex formulas, you might want to use that FX that is there. That was why I decided to introduce that. Okay, we had another question. Someone didn't get 49.
Maritha.
Yes,
sorry,
please.
1 second. This is Ediri. Because we might end up not achieving a lot that we want to do today.
Okay.
I would want you to flow. Just get the flow. Continue.
Okay. Okay.
And we'll get to Q&A. Please, everyone, if you have questions, put it in the chat. I will call her attention to any immediate one. But anyone that can wait till the end of her session, will wait till the end and take all the questions. But if there's one that shows that somebody is not following, I'll call Maritha's attention to it. But let's drop our questions in the chat so we are not interrupting the flow. I think it should work better that way. Or else we might not
Okay. That works. All right. Thanks. All right. So we've been able to address number 1. Number 2, extract the first name of the employees. Extract the first name of the employees. So let me look at that. So we were given last name. We have no first name, but we have the email address. And we can see that this email address has a name dot another name at bilearner.com. A name dot another name at bilearner.com. So if Bridges is the last name, it means that we have first name dot last name at bilearner.com. So we need to bring out first name from here. We need to bring out first name from here. So we can use text to column to do this. We can use text to column to do this. All right. And to do it, we need to create, because what we'll be considering is where what we are splitting would be. So let's add extra 2 columns. Let's insert extra 2 columns. We can insert it here. 2 or 3 as much. If we don't exhaust it, then it's fine. Our interest is to bring out first name, right? So we select the column that we want to work on. We go to the top. Oh, this stuff is covering my data. I need to drag it down. Let me drag it down. Yep. Okay, so you click on data. I need to click on data before then I'll then maximize it. Go to the top, you click on data. Then you click on text to columns. You click on text to columns. When you click on text to columns, you have 2 options, delimiter or fixed width. And delimiter, under delimiter, you have things like comma, full stop, bracket, and the likes. Under fixed width, you have things like, split after 8 characters, split after 10 characters. So you need to define the characters. But looking at the email address, we know that if we split where we have dot, we will be able to get first name. So we go for delimiter. You can already see it from the preview that you have below, what would happen. So we click on next. We're not using tab, that's not our delimiter, not semicolon, not comma, not space. Let's click on order and select dot. When you do that, you can see what you would have under your data preview. So always use the preview to check what your result will be like. So this is what we have, and we click next. So with that, we've been able to split our data, and we have our first first name. What we should have done actually was to duplicate that particular column. That's what we should have done so that we still have that record. So I would quickly undo what I did. Function to undo, Control-Z. Function to undo, Control-Z. So I will do it better. I'll just do Control-C. Sorry. What did I just do? I had to undo what I did. Then I did Control-C to copy and Control-V to paste. All right, so I would rename this. This is already my email. And this is this column I will be splitting. That's a column that we're splitting. So I'll split this to extract my first name. I have my dot already. Next and finish. So yeah, I have my first name here. So I would rename my column to first name, and I can choose to delete this too. So we have our first name extracted from this. And that addresses number 2. Number 3 is show the full name of the employees. Show the full name of the employees. So remember, one of the things that we're also trying to address with these questions is to show you the different functions that we have in Excel. So we've used count, and for count, we tried 2 methods. We've used text to column to help you split your text. And the next one now is we're going to use is concatenate. So we're going to bring Bridges' first name and last name together. So we're going to form a new column. We're going to create a new column called full name. We need a new column called full name. We need a new column called full name. And for full name, we're bringing together first name and last name. Remember, if you're going to write a function, you use your equality sign. Or you click on FX. So I'll use concat. I use concat. My first test, depending on how you want it, but I want my first name to come first. So I'll use that as my first. Then my function says, after the first test, after text 1, I need you to put a comma. After the first test, I need you to put a comma. So I put a comma. Always follow that. Most times people get confused on what's next after this. Why is my function? Why do I have an error? You need to look at what the function is expecting. So it's requested for a comma. Immediately I put my comma, it highlighted text 2. I'm going to go ahead with text 2 before I actually give you what it's supposed to look like. So let me give you text 2, which is last name. After my text 2, I'm done. I'm not adding any other thing. I can go on and add more, but that's all I want to do. So I'll put my bracket, and that's it. Now that I have done this, I go to the bottom of the cell and double click. You can see the plus sign. You can see the plus sign when I hover at the bottom of that cell. I double click and it rolls down. But there's something. You can see that this first name and last name are together. They are joined together. That is not what we want. We want to have a first name standalone, space, then last name. That's what we hope to achieve. Then how do we achieve that? So I'll go back to that function. I'll go back to that function, which you can see here. So in between the comma. After the comma, I'll put a space. So I'll rewrite this function so it's clear. Remember, I have my first name, the comma, then my test2 would not be my last name. It would be a space. My text2 would just be a space. Then I bring in last name as test3, and I close it. And this is what we have. Now we have the full name with the space. Now we have the full name with the space. Remember, the function that we use here is concat, and we use that to join first name to our last name. Okay. How many employees does the company have? We've done that already. Oh, how many male employees? Assuming 0 is equal to male and 1 is equal to female. We have gender here. We have a gender code. And we're told that 0 is equal to male and 1 equals to female. What I want us to do is first, let's change this 0 to male and change 1 to female. So we're going to tell Excel, wherever you see 0, I want it to be male. And wherever you see 1, I want it to be female. And for us to achieve that, we will use a function called if. Most people say it's if statement because it's a statement. It's a conditional statement. Like wherever you see this, this is the result. Where you see that, I want this to be the result. So we're going to use if statement to get our new column called gender. We're going to use if statement to get our new column called gender. So I'll just give a column a name, which is gender. And as usual, you start with your equality sign. Well, because it's if statement, let's use fx. So let's click on fx. Now write if and search. That's my if, and I click OK. It's simple. If is 0, return it as male. If it is 1, show me female. That's the simple English. So we're going to translate that. It's telling us what's the logical test. What am I testing for? What am I testing for? So what you're testing for is this. We take it to where the test will happen. What you're testing for is if you come to this row, right? And the row is equals to 0. If this row is equal to 0, the value I want you to give me if it's true is male. And the value I want you to give me if it's false is female. That's it. And I click OK. I have my male already. I go to the cell. I double click on the bottom, and it will populate others for me. So I have a gender column, male and female. This is really good for analysis because if you build a dashboard and you build your dashboard with codes, the users won't understand it you have to keep explaining yourself. So what is 0? What is 1? You don't want to be thrown off balance when someone is asking, when you're doing a presentation. So it's very important that if you encounter codes in your data, understand the description of these codes and change them. Write a query for it, or you write a function for it and create a new column and use that instead for your dashboarding or for your analysis. All right, so with this, it's easier. You look at it, you know that 0, you're not looking at 0 anymore. You won't have to look at this anymore. You just go to gender and you know that, oh, this is male and this is female. All right, so we have another bit of that question that says, how many male employees does the company have? Total male employee. Let's use FX. So we're going to use count, but we're going to use a conditional count instead, because we are only counting male employee. We are not counting female. So our count will have a bit of condition to it. So we will use count if. We use count if. We use our FX and search for COUNTIF. That's COUNTIF. So it's asking you, where am I counting? Where's the range? So I go to my data and select my range. This is what I want it to count. What criteria are you looking at? Male only. And that's it. Our COUNTIF returned 33 male in the organization. Just so I know that, confirm that I'm not alone. Are you all with me? Do I still have people in the class?
No.
Do I have people in the room?
Yes.
No, someone said no. It's not possible. All right,
Yes,
let's continue. Let's continue. So we've done COUNTIF. Just a bit recap. If someone is ever going to tell you, oh, you don't know Excel functions, sorry, you have learned count tonight. You have learned text to column. You've learned concat. You've done if statement, and you have also used count if. Now we have how many staff will be promoted based on these criteria. Performance description. So we want to know how many staff will be promoting. And we've been given 2 conditions. Performance description, they must exceed expectation and they must be full-time staff. They must exceed expectation and they must be full-time staff. Okay. Now we will assume.
Maritha,
yes.
Someone said, please do number 2 again. Which one is number 2?
Let me look at it. Extract the first name of the employee. That's the text column.
Okay, I think the person did not get that part. Please, can you do that again?
I will quickly do it. Let me go to it. So this is number 2. We were to extract the first name. We were given last name, we weren't given first name. And we looked at the email and we said, this is first name and last name. So why don't we just extract it? So I will delete this. Yes, my full name is showing ref because it's dependent on that. I shouldn't have done that. I will just delete it as well. Oh yeah, this requires 2. So I will do the second one again. So this is first name, this is last name. So how did we know? Because under last name here, we have Bridges. And here is Bridges. So all we need is this first name. And what we did was to select this column, and we went to data. For me to see data, I have to minimize this. We clicked on data. We clicked on data, and we have text to column. We clicked on text to column, and I said, you will see delimiter and you will see fixed depth, fixed width. Under delimiter, you will see things like comma, full stop, space, and the likes. Or you can even see at, right? So we used dot. That's what we used, and I had to write it here. So there are things that you would have that is not here. So when you check order, then you write it yourself. So I had to write the dot here. And then you will see your data preview. This is what the outcome will look like, or the output will look like. Click next, finish, and that's it. So this is number 2. That's what we did. And because I already have this now, I can decide to delete others. All right, this is what we did. Please, yeah?
Yeah, sorry to cut you short. It's also possible for you to remove that line between .com so that it doesn't,
Yes.
the email doesn't get splitted. Yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Okay, all right, thanks. Yeah, okay. Thank you. So we moved to what now? We were talking about, yes, how many staff will be promoted based on this criteria? Performance, description, exceed, and full-time. So one thing that wasn't added to that use case is that, oh yes, here, sorry. No, number 5 is what we're supposed to do, not number 6. Provide a description of the performance scores. 1, exceed. 2 is equal to fully met, and 3 needs improvement. This is similar to what we did for gender using our if statement. So the expectation is that you should be able to write this yourself, but let's write it together. Let's write it together. So our performance description. I'm creating a new column. Performance description. Our new column is dependent on here, performance score. So what we have is this. Let's look at it again. 1 means that you are a high flyer. You are overdoing. You're doing too much. Fully met is as expected, right? You are doing as expected. Needs improvement is you need to do better than you're currently doing. So let's write that. So we use our if statement to say if is asking for logical test, right? And we said, if our performance score is equal to 1, then the result is in text. So you have to put it in this quote. Then exceed. If our performance score is equal to 1, exceed. All right? We can do a nested if. We go back again. If it's equal to 2, we said it will be 2 is fully met. And if it's not any of this, needs improvement. needs improvement. If is equals to 1, we have our exceed. That's the result, if it's true. If it's equals to 2, fully met. If it's not these are ones, which obviously will be 3, then it needs improvement. So we drag that down. And that gives us number 5. So number 6 is where we're supposed to decide who gets promoted. How many staff will be promoted based on this criteria? Performance description is equal to exceed and employment type full-time. So we write our promotion and we use a function called if and. So we are going to introduce and because we have 2 conditions. We have 2 conditions. So, and these 2 conditions has to be true. It has to be true, right? You have to be a high flyer and you also have to be a full-time staff. So we start with if and we bring and. All right? For this and, we have 2 logical texts that we have to do, which is performance description equals to exceed? It has to text it. Is employment type equals to full-time? So let's try that. We're saying this has to be equal to fully met. When I'm done with this, I put my comma. It's fully, let me put that well, fully met. Yep. And my second logical test is that my contract type, employee type, sorry, not contract type, employee type needs to be equal to full-time. That's it. That's a logical test. That's a logical test. So when I'm done with the logical test, I put comma. What's the value if this is true? So if I'm a high flyer and I'm also a full-time staff, then I would have promote. If not, it's don't promote, or we can say under review. Let's make it mild. Let's not be too harsh. Let's say under review. So we have promote, and if it's false, we have under review. That's it. So you close your bracket. Now there's something wrong with what I've done. Let me confirm that. I closed that. So why is it showing name error? Let me rewrite it. Equal to if and this is equal to fully met. Closed, comma. This is equal to full time. Okay. Not close it. Oh.
There's a missing quote after promote, don't
After
promote.
after don't promote. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Thanks for noting that for me. Okay. So we have don't promote. So let's look at the first don't promote. This person is a high flyer, but the person is a contract staff. So we're not promoting. Oh, but we said we won't use don't promote, but it's fine. This person is fully met, full time. So we've used if and we've used if and because we had two conditions that needs to be met. And with that, we were able to come up with this. Are we still together?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you. Show names and department of staff that has been trained. Show names and department of staff that has been trained. So we go to training data. Remember,
Maritha, sorry, before you move to the next one, someone wants you to take the performance description again, please.
This one.
Yes, please.
Okay. I will delete it. But if I delete it, it will affect this. So I'll just create a new performance description. Before I take the performance description, let's go through it. So we're providing a description for the codes that we have. If you've gone through performance review at work, you see your 1 is this, 2 is that, and 3. And this is the description for the codes, right? And we're going to use an if statement for that. We use an if statement for that, all right? So I can choose to use this so it's clearer. This is not detailed enough. I have 3 steps, so I won't be using this. Let me use this one. So I have if, right? I start with my equality sign. I put my if. And I said, if my performance score, so I come to this, select it. My performance score is equal to 1. I want my result. So I put what my result should be. I want my result to be exceed. I would have written the result for false, but I have 3 items. I have 1, 2, and 3. So I need to write another one before I write the value for false. So it's called nested if. So I'm putting in another if condition in the existing one. So I put if again. I put if again. And I'm saying the same thing. If the score is equal to 2, then I want my result to be fully met. Now that I've done this, the last value, I don't need to write any condition for it. I just need to say, if everything here is true, anyone that is false, put it in this category. That's what I'm saying. So anyone that is false should be needs improvement. And that's it, I close. I close this twice to align with the brackets that are open. So if you check, I have two open brackets. I have this black one here, it's here, and I have another one here. So I need to ensure that I have closed both brackets. So I close that and I have it. Click on the drop down, click on the bottom of the cell, double click, and that's it. Okay, the question for show names and department of staff that has been trained. So we go to the training data. What we have is employee ID, and that's all. We don't have the names. We don't have the names. So we can choose to add a column here or at the edge, right? And write employee name. So what we're going to do is to look up. We need to come here and check names and populate it here without going one after the other. I'm not coming here to copy, oh, what's this ID? I'm not coming to compare ID to ID. I'm just going to write a function that will help me populate this column with the names of the employee. And we will use this function called VLOOKUP. We'll use a function called VLOOKUP. So I want to start from here, use my FX, search for VLOOKUP. Now, what value am I looking up? I'm looking up these values. That's the value I need to get information from employee data. That's the value I need. So I'm looking up those values. So I'll just select the values, right? That's the value I'm looking up. What table do you want to get this information from? What table, right? It's from this table, employee table. Hold on, please. So I'm getting that from here. So I don't have to select everything, but I just need to ensure that whatever I select has the details that I need. So I need employee name. I can use just last name and move on. So I will just select here. That's the table that I need. Column index. So it's asking me, how do I identify the column the column I need to populate this, right? It used to be when you're counting, it counts from 0, 1, but I've noticed it's changed. So before now, it's this column here. The first column used to be, sorry, I've done something. I have. Yep. When you're counting the index, the first column is usually 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But I noticed something has changed recently. It now starts at 1. I hope I'm still correct, but then I noticed it has changed. So when you're counting, it starts 1, 2, 3, 4. So A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. But some people still say it starts at 0. So I will start mine with 1, and I will assume that my last name column is 2. So the column index number is 2. Then lookup range. The lookup range can actually be true or false. So false is exact match. If you want to have an exact match, then you just type false. So if you read up what we have here, lookup range is a logical value to find the closest match in the first column. I want to have an exact match, so I just type false. And I click OK. So I've done that. And it has populated the employee name for me. The good thing is that we have the opportunity to do this again because we are not just doing names, we are doing department as well. We are doing department as well. So I can add department here and we do the same thing over again using VLOOKUP. Remember what I just did was to populate this column with data from employee data. I wanted this name, this column here, to be in my employee data. So instead of going to copy it one after the other, I decided to use a function called VLOOKUP. So it will use the ID to look up the values for me. So anywhere it sees 3427, it will bring in the employee name for me. And that's what we're going to do again for department. So anywhere you see 3427, I want you to show me the department of this person. So let's quickly write VLOOKUP again. Let's quickly write VLOOKUP again. Lookup value is this value. I select it. Table array is the table where the information is. My department is here, so I need to select my table all the way to where the department is to ensure that I capture that. That's my department. Column index, right? So that means my one at a time worked. So I'm just going to count from A all the way to I. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So I'm going to write 9. Then I want an exact match. So I will write false. And I click OK. Yes, I have my department populated. Are we still together?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. So I've done number 6. Show names and department of staff that has been trained. I think, oh yeah, so I've done this. Create a pivot table showing average training by department. So we are going to create two pivot tables. We will do 8 and 9 together, and that would be all. So let me create a pivot table. And this pivot table is for training data because we want to look at average training costs. Okay. All right, so let's quickly insert a pivot table. Let's quickly insert a pivot table. We can select our data. Control A highlights your data. Control A highlights your data. And we insert a pivot table. So we go to insert and we click on pivot table. When you join the visualization class, we will talk about these two, table range and external data source. But for today, we just click on this, all right? We insert, and we're going to insert this in a new worksheet. So we're going to open a new worksheet. If I click on existing worksheet, then I have to select which of the worksheets I want this pivot table to appear. But let's create a new worksheet. So I just click on OK, and it will create a new worksheet for me. And the request is pretty straightforward. Show me. Show me average training costs by department. All right. So we have that. Training costs. We have a column.
Oh yeah, over here, people are new serious.
We might need to mute this person before you reveal your family secret. All right. So we'll click on, we're working with training costs, remember, training costs and department, right? So we start with that. So we check our training costs. It's a value, so it will always go to the value. It's numeric, so it will go to value and it will sum. Then department. So we have this here. Sum of training by department. Sum of training by department. But our interest is average. Average. So we can right click. We can right click and we go to summarize values by. Summarize values by, and we click on average. And that is it. We have it. All right. We have average training by department. And the last question is.
Hello, Maritha. Please, before you move to the last question, somebody said, can you repeat that, please?
Okay, I will do that. I will do the whole stuff again. So you just take the process. Oh, let me cancel. Let me just leave this shit. So we started with doing a Control-A to select all, insert pivot table. We inserted our pivot table in a new worksheet, and we have the fields from our training data. Our interest is training costs and department. Our interest is training costs. So we can go and check the box. We can go and check the box or we drag, right? We can drag. So I drag my training cost to value and I drag my department. And that's what I have. But this is not what I want. I have sum of training costs, but we want to know average, right? So I right click and I do this. All right. Then the last question. Training sum by state is similar to what we just did. It's still the same.
Sorry, please. Please, could you repeat how you got the promotion? I've been asking that since.
The one of promoter. Okay, I'll do that. Let me finish this.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, the one where we had to do promote or dot promote, right?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, we'll do that. Now, so the last one is, this one is for department, and we are looking at the one for state. So we can, instead of creating a new one, we can just copy this pivot table, paste it, and we can change what we want to change. So we have it as average. We can still right click, go back and show it as sum. All right, so with this, we have covered the metrics that we have here. I'll quickly go back and show that what I did here.
Hi, Maritha.
Yes.
2 steps that you need to go back to based on what's in the chat: the promotion and the COUNTIF. The COUNTIF.
COUNTIF. Okay.
Thank you.
The promote. We'll do it again here. So if we're to promote, we say yes. If we're not promoting, we say no. And what are the things we need to look at? You have to be a full-time staff, and you will have exceeded expectation. And we're using two functions here. We're using if and, all right? So we write this and we'll start with if. Now for the logical test is where we confirm we need to get true or false. And with that, we can move on. And for us, because we have two conditions, we're using and, because we want that the condition must be met. It has to be yes, right? The condition must be met, right? So we have this condition. What's the condition one? We said if fully met, no, yes, if description is equal to exceed. If description is equal to exceed. That's the first condition. Then we have the second one. The second one is this one. Employee type. Employee type is equal to full-time. That's a logical test. So when we're done with this logical test, then we'll state what we want to have if the result is true or false. So if it's true, yes, promote. So we just write yes. We can also write promote. And if it's not true, then give us no, we're not promoting you. Just want to be sure that I've closed all my, yes. So the places we had no, sorry. Oh, so we have a no here. There has to be a reason why. Is my full-timing? Because this is showing promote.
Hello.
Yes, please.
I think the reason for that is you used fully met instead of exceed. That's why.
Thank you. Exceed, yes, please. Thanks for noticing that. Yes. Exceed. Oh, now I've changed it in the wrong place. It has to be here. Yes, exceed. Yes, let me drag it down.
The previous
I use fully met here. Oh, thanks. Exceed, yes. Works now. Okay, great, thanks. So we only have promote here. Let me see. Yes, only for promote, and that aligns. Thank you. So that is what that's how we got that. Then for COUNTIF, let me quickly look at that again. Show the number, no. How many male employee do we have? So what the first thing we did with this was to get the gender column. And after that, we decided to use a function called COUNTIF. So we are doing a count, but there's a condition to that count. We have a condition, right? And anytime you have a condition, there is usually if, coming in somehow, because there is like, it might or might not, right? So we put count if the range, what range are we counting? So the range we are counting is here. That's where we're counting. What's the criteria? Male. That's it. So I will only count you if you are male. If you're not male, you won't be counted. That's the condition. All right.